Montana, a land where the horizon stretches endlessly, where the sky feels bigger, wider, and deeper than anywhere else in America. They call it the Big. This is a place of raw, untamed beauty, towering mountains cloaked in snow, sweeping prairies that seem to have no end, and ancient rivers that carved scars into the earth long before humans walked these lands. But beneath this breathtaking wilderness lies something else. Mysteries buried deep in stone and time, strange rock carvings, ancient alignments that mirror the heavens, and massive scars left by cataclysmic foods. For centuries, Montana has been more than just a landscape. It has been a puzzle. A land where natural wonder, forgotten civilizations, and spiritual secrets intertwine. And among all these mysteries, one place holds a power unlike any other. A place where the earth itself seems alive. A place where stone whispers stories of the past. This is Medicine Rocks. Medicine Rocks, Montana's sandstone enigma. Tucked away in the southeastern corner of Montana, near the small town of Ekalaka in Carter County, lies one of the state's most fascinating treasures, Medicine Rock State Park. Geologists tell us these formations date back around 60 million years to the Paleocene epoch. Back then, ancient rivers laid down layers of sand and sediment, which slowly hardened into stone. Over millions of years, wind, water, and ice sculpted these formations into the surreal shapes we see today. But to reduce Medicine Rocks only to geology misses the deeper truth. For centuries, for countless generations, this place has been far more than a landscape. It has been a sanctuary, a sacred site, a place of power, the sacred power of medicine. The name Medicine Rocks comes from the native concept of medicine. But here, medicine does not mean pills, doctors, or hospitals. In the traditions of the Plains tribes such as the Cheyenne, the Crow, the Sioux, the Lakota, and the Assiniboine, medicine means spiritual power. It is the energy that flows through the world, the unseen force that connects people, nature, and the cosmos. A place with medicine was a place alive with that energy. A place where visions could be found, guidance received, and healing begun. For indigenous people, Medicine Rocks was not just stone. It was a living, breathing temple. Warriors, leaders, and holy people came here for vision quests, spiritual journeys that involve fasting, prayer, and solitude. In the silence of the prairie, surrounded by strange rock formations, seekers believed they could touch the spirit world. They could receive messages, warnings, or glimpses of their life's path. The rocks became witnesses to these visions, silent guardians of prayers whispered into the wind. Messages in stone. One of the most haunting features of Medicine Rocks is the petroglyphs, carvings etched into the stone surfaces. Some depict animals, elk, bison, and birds. Others show human forays, hunting scenes, or abstract geometric shapes. Many of these carvings are hundreds of years old, clearly made by native tribes. But others remain a mystery. Who carved them? When? And what did they mean? Some researchers believe they may represent astronomical markers, alignments with the stars, the moon, or the sun. Others think they were spiritual visions, recorded in stone as messages from the other side. Still others suggest they may have been tribal records, stories of battles, migrations, or ceremonies. What is certain is that these carvings deepen the aura of mystery. Standing before them, you feel the presence of countless generations who passed through this place, leaving behind fragments of their story. The settlers arrive, layers of history. By the 1800s, as settlers pushed westward, they too encountered Medicine Rocks, and they too felt its strange pull. Cowboys, travelers, pioneers, they carved their own names and dates into the sandstone, often right alongside ancient indigenous carvings. To some, this may seem like vandalism, graffiti scarring sacred stone, but looked at another way, it is a layered history, a visible record of centuries, side by side, the sacred symbols of native tribes, next to the signatures of settlers forging a new life. Together, they form a palimpsest, a story written and rewritten in stone. Medicine Rocks, today, a place of reverence. In 1957, Medicine Rocks was officially designated a Montana State Park, and in 2017, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places as a traditional cultural property. This recognition wasn't about tourism. It was about protection, acknowledging that this place is sacred, alive, and deeply meaningful to Native people. Today, the park spans about 330 acres. Visitors can hike trails, watch wildlife, and marvel at the formations. Mule deer, eagles, hawks, and even the occasional mountain lion call the area home. Old-growth junipers twist up among the rocks, their roots clutching stone like ancient fingers. But even more than its natural beauty, what strikes visitors is the silence, the stillness, the feeling that here, time slows down. For tribal members, Medicine Rocks is still a living sacred site. Offerings are left, prayers are spoken, ceremonies are held. The unbroken connection to the ancestors continues. And for those who come seeking only beauty or curiosity, the rocks still offer something rare, a moment of quiet awe, a reminder that not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to be felt. Closing reflection, the Cathedral of Stone. As the sun sets over Medicine Rocks, the formations glow gold, casting long shadows across the prairie. The wind whistles through the arches, almost like a voice, and if you stand still long enough, you may feel it too, that sense of something larger than yourself. Medicine Rocks is not just geology, not just history, not just culture. It is all of these woven together into one place of wonder. It is, as one traveler once wrote, as if God himself had left his footprints here. And as Montana's skies stretch endlessly overhead, Medicine Rocks continues to stand a cathedral of memory and mystery, echoing the silent prayers of those who came before and those who still come today. High in the Bighorn Mountains, straddling the border of Montana and Wyoming, lies one of the most mysterious sites in all of North America. It is called the Bighorn Medicine Wheel, at nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, perched on a windswept ridge with breathtaking views of mountains and valleys stretching to the horizon. This vast stone circle has puzzled archaeologists, fascinated astronomers, and inspired Native people for centuries. Some call it a calendar, others call it a temple. For those who seek visions, it is a gateway to the spirit world. But perhaps it is all of these at once. The Wheel of Stone. The Bighorn Medicine Wheel is enormous, an 80-foot wide circle made entirely of stones gathered from the surrounding mountain. From its pride-in center radiate 28 stone spokes, stretching out like the ribs of a great wheel. Around the circle's edge sit 6 smaller cairns, stone piles carefully placed at specific points. It is not a random scattering of rocks. It is deliberate, ordered, purposeful. But the question is, why? The unknown builders. Archaeologists cannot say with certainty who built the Bighorn Wheel or exactly when. Estimates range anywhere from 300 to 800 years ago. Some suggest it may be even older, perhaps 0 years or more. Tribes of the northern plains, such as the Crow, Shoshone, Arapaho, and Cheyenne, all have connections to this sacred mountain. Oral traditions tell of vision quests held here, of ceremonies performed under the open sky. But unlike most sites in America, the Medicine Wheel has no single owner. It exists as a shared sacred place, honored by multiple nations, across centuries. Medicine wheels across the plains. The Bighorn Wheel is not unique. Across the northern plains, from Alberta in Canada to Wyoming and Montana, more than 100 medicine wheels have been discovered. Some are small, others vast. But of them all, the Big Horn Wheel is among the largest and best preserved. The pattern is always similar: a central cairn, spokes radiating outward, and an outer circle. To native people, this was more than a design. It was a symbol, the meaning of the circle. In native traditions, the circle is sacred. It represents the cycle of life, birth, growth, death, and rebirth. It is the four directions: north, south, east, west. It is the seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter. Life itself was seen as a wheel, turning endlessly, always connected. At the Big Horn Wheel, this circle takes physical form. Standing within it, you are at the center of all things, connected to the earth below, the sky above, and the spirits all around. For vision seekers, the mountain was not just a place to pray. It was a place to step into the very rhythm of the universe. Astronomy in stone, but the Big Horn Medicine Wheel is not only spiritual, it is also scientific. In 1974, a team of astronomers studied the alignments of the stones. What they discovered was astonishing. The cairns line up with the summer solstice, sunrise, and sunset, the longest day of the year. Even more remarkable, certain spokes align with the rising of specific stars: Aldebaran in Taurus, Rigel in Orion, and Sirius in Canis Major. These are not random stars, they are some of the brightest and most important in the night sky. This means the builders of the wheel were not only spiritual people, but keen observers of the heavens. They tracked the cycles of stars, the turning of the seasons, the heartbeat of the cosmos. Imagine, hundreds of years ago, native astronomers climbing this mountain, placing stones so that, on one precise day each year, the sun would rise in perfect alignment. Imagine them watching the night sky, knowing exactly when Sirius would appear on the horizon, signaling the time for ceremonies. The Big Horn Wheel may have been, in its time, a living observatory, part calendar, part compass, part sacred altar, a place of vision quests. For native people, this mountain is not just rock and sky. It is alive. The Crow Nation call it a place of great power. Young men would fast here, alone for days, seeking dreams and visions. Wrapped in blankets, facing the cold winds, they prayed to the spirits for guidance. Some saw animals. Others saw ancestors. Some saw nothing, but the silence itself was considered a gift. The Shoshone, Arapaho, and other tribes also visited the site for ceremonies, offerings, and prayers. Even today, visitors may see tobacco, tea small, cloth bundles tied to the fence around the wheel, offerings of respect. For native traditions, the medicine wheel is not a ruin of the past. It is a living, breathing, spiritual center, the mystery of its purpose. Scholars still debate, what was the true purpose of the Big Horn Wheel? Was it primarily a ceremonial site, where vision quests and rituals took place? Was it an astronomical observatory, built to track the stars and the solstices? Or was it both science and spirit woven together, inseparable in a worldview where the cosmos itself was sacred? Perhaps the greatest mystery is that the answers may never be fully known. The builders left no written records. The stones themselves remain silent. And so, the wheel invites us not to solve it, but to stand in its presence and wonder, preservation and respect. Today, the Big Horn Medicine Wheel is protected as a National Historic Landmark. Visitors may walk a trail up to the site, but they cannot enter. The circle itself, it remains fenced off, a measure of respect for its sacredness. Still, standing outside the wheel, looking down at its perfect circle etched into the mountaintop, the sense of awe is overwhelming. The sky feels bigger here, the wind stronger, the silence deeper. It is as if the mountain itself is speaking. A scar across the land beneath Montana's endless skies lies a scar of unimaginable scale, a winding trench that stretches for over 100 miles, cutting across valleys, hills, and plains. This is the Shonkin Sag, one of the largest prehistoric river channels on Earth. At first glance, it looks like just another dry valley. But look closer, and you see its size is far too vast for any modern river. Its walls are steep. Its floor is broad. It is the path of something cataclysmic. The Shonkin Sag is not a river carved over millions of years. It is the remnant of a single event, a food so immense, so violent, that it defies imagination. To stand here is to stand in the footprint of an Ice Age apocalypse. The Ice Age world. 20,000 years ago, the world was locked in the grip of the last Ice Age. Glaciers miles thick covered much of North America. In Montana, the Great Laurentide ice sheet pushed southward, damming rivers, blocking valleys, and creating enormous glacial lakes. One of these was Glacial Lake Great Falls, formed when ice blocked the Missouri River near what is now Great Falls, Montana, fed by meltwater. And snow, the lake grew and grew until it held more water than Lake Erie and Lake Ontario combined. But ice is not eternal, and when the dam gave way, the world changed in an instant. The catastrophic flood, imagine it. An icy dam, taller than a skyscraper, shattering with a thunderous roar. Billions of gallons of water surging forward in a single, unstoppable wave. The flood tore through the land, ripping soil and stone from the earth, carving cliffs and valleys in mere hours. It scoured a path more than 500 feet deep and 5 miles wide. The channel it left behind is the Shonkin Sag. For a brief, chaotic moment in prehistory, it was a river larger than any that exists today, greater even than the Amazon, the Mississippi, or the Nile. And then, just as suddenly, it was gone. What remains is silence, and a mystery written in stone. The geological puzzle. For decades, geologists puzzled over the Shonkin Sag. How could such a massive valley exist in a place where no river flows? Some early scientists suggested it was carved slowly, over millions of years. But the evidence, steep walls, erratic boulders, deposits of gravel, pointed to something else, something sudden. It was only with the study of Ice Age foods, such as the famous Missoula floods in western Montana, that the truth became clear. The Shonkin Sag was the product of catastrophic glacial outburst fooding events where enormous lakes, trapped by ice, suddenly released all at once. In the blink of an eye, the landscape was rewritten. The human question. But here lies another mystery. When the Shonkin Sag food roared across Montana, were there people here to witness it? Archaeologists debate the timing. The food likely occurred at least 15,000 years ago, perhaps earlier. This overlaps with the earliest evidence of humans in North America, the Clovis culture, known for their distinctive spear points. Did early hunters stand on the ridges, watching in terror as a wall of water thundered past? Did stories of this cataclysm survive in oral traditions, passed down as legends of great foods, angry spirits, or battles between gods? Many indigenous nations across North America tell food stories, tales of water covering the land, of people climbing mountains to survive. Could these be distant memories of Ice Age foods like the Shonkin Sag? We cannot know for certain, but the possibility lingers, haunting the dry channel like an echo of forgotten voices. The Shonkin Sag today. Today, the Shonkin Sag is a quiet place. Cattle graze on its grasslands. Birds wheel overhead. A casual traveler might not even notice its true scale. But from the air, or from the perspective of a geologist, it is breathtaking. The channel winds for over 100 miles, connecting what were once massive glacial lakes. Along its course, strange features remain. Giant gravel, bars, cut banks as high as buildings, and scattered boulders carried miles from their origins. To walk its floor is to walk where an ancient river once thundered. To stand on its rim is to look back in time to an earth reshaped by water. The broader story: catastrophic floods. The Shonkin Sag is not alone. Across the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest, scientists have discovered evidence of similar foods. The Missoula floods, unleashed when glacial Lake Missoula burst, carved the famous channeled scablands of Washington. Together, These events remind us that Earth's landscape is not always shaped slowly, gently, over eons. Sometimes it is transformed in days, in hours, in minutes. The Shonkin Sag is proof of that violence. Proof that catastrophe is woven into the story of our planet. Lessons of the Sag. What can we learn from this massive dry channel? First, that nature is far more powerful than we imagine. No human dam, no modern engineering project compares to the scale of Ice Age foods. Second, that the land carries memory. Every cliff, every valley, every stone tells a story if we learn to read it. And finally, that our world, though it feels permanent, is fragile. What happened once can happen again. Closing. Reflection. The silence after the storm. The Shonkin Sag is not a temple like the Bighorn Medicine Wheel. It is not carved with petroglyphs like medicine rocks. It was not shaped by human hands at all. It is a monument of chaos, a scar of water and ice, a story written in silence. Yet, in its own way, it is sacred because it reminds us of the power of the earth itself. When you stand on its rim, the wind in your face, the vast dry channel at your feet, you can almost hear the roar of ancient waters. You can almost feel the trembling of the ground. And then, just as suddenly, you hear nothing. Only silence. Only the vast Montana sky. The Shonkin Sag endures as one of the greatest mysteries of the Ice Age. A reminder that our world was once wilder, harsher, and more unpredictable than we dare imagine. And in its silence, it whispers the same truth told by stone circles and sacred rocks alike. That we are small, that time is vast, and that the earth remembers everything. Others say it is survival, for if you understand the land, you understand how to live with it. But there is something deeper, something timeless. When we stand at Medicine Rocks, we feel the weight of generations who prayed there before us. When we walk the circle of the medicine wheel, we feel aligned not only with the earth, but with the stars themselves. And when we gaze across the Shonkin Sag, we feel the echo of chaos, the reminder that all we build is fragile, temporary, fleeting. The land humbles us. It places us in the grand scale of things. It whispers, "You are not the first, you will not be the last." The earth endures. Legends, science, and the human heart. Science tells us how these places were formed. It explains that sandstone is carved by wind, that stone circles can align with solstices, that foods can tear valleys into existence in hours. But science does not tell us why these places move us. Why does a circle of stones feel holy? Why does an empty channel feel like a monument? Why do we return, generation after generation, to leave carvings on rock, to fast on lonely ridges, to pray beneath open skies? The answer is not only in geology or astronomy, it is in the human heart. We need meaning. We need connection. We need to belong to something larger than ourselves. And Montana, with its vastness and silence, gives us that connection. It invites us to step into mystery, to feel both small and infinite at once. A bridge between worlds. Think of the medicine wheel, a circle of stones, but also a calendar, a prayer, a teaching tool. It is science and spirit in one. Think of medicine rocks, petroglyphs carved by hand, symbols that might be stories, maps, or dreams. History and legend, inseparable. Think of the Shonkin Sag, a geological scar, but perhaps also the inspiration for ancient food legends passed through generations. Each site bridges worlds between past and present, between myth and science, between earth and sky. Montana's mysteries are not puzzles to be solved. They are bridges to be crossed. The timelessness of Montana. What strikes you most, standing in these places, is time. At Medicine Rocks, carvings from hundreds of years ago remain sharp in stone. At the Bighorn Medicine Wheel, alignments with stars are unchanged for centuries. At the Shonkin Sag, the scars of water 15,000 years ago still stretch across the plains. Time is longer here. The human story is only a blink against the backdrop of mountains, rivers, and skies. And yet, that blink matters. For in that blink, we carve, we pray, we remember. We leave behind echoes for those who will come after us. The silence speaks. There is something haunting in Montana's silences. The silence of medicine rocks at dawn, broken only by the wind whispering through stone towers. The silence of the Bighorn Mountains at night, when the stars above mirror the circle of stones below. The silence of the Shonkin Sag, vast and empty, holding the memory of roaring foods long gone. These silences are not emptiness, they are presence. They are the land speaking in a voice too deep for words. If you listen, you may hear it, not with your ears, but with something older, deeper, more human. Lessons for the future. What do these places teach us today? They teach us humility. The land is greater than us, and it will outlast us. They teach us connection. Science, spirit, and story are not enemies, but companions in understanding. They teach us memory, that to know who we are, we must know the land beneath our feet. Perhaps, most of all, they remind us of responsibility. To protect these sites, not just as curiosities, but as sacred, living places. To honor the people who came before us, and to leave something for those who will come after. Closing reflection. The eternal Montana. Montana is more than land. It is memory, carved into stone. It is mystery, written in sky and food. It is spirit, carried in silence and wind. The petroglyphs of medicine rocks, the circle of the medicine wheel, the scars of the Shonkin Sag. Together, they form a story too vast for words, too deep for science alone, too mysterious for legend alanestry that belongs to all, yet cannot be fully owned by anyone. Montana reminds us that the earth is alive, that time is vast, and that we are part of something greater. As the sun sets over the big sky, as shadows stretch across the prairie,